everyone, hope you're well. Welcome to Talking Church. Just want to give you a couple of minutes to get yourselves comfortable, get a pen, Bible, notepad, coffee, tea, and whatever else you drink on a morning as you're watching Talking Church. Just want to give people an opportunity to join us and tune in. Isn't it beautiful to have our weather back, sunshine's back, and I'm looking forward to enjoying that this week. And I know you will as well. We had a great weekend in church, really did. I was so blessed by what I saw the Lord do in family church this weekend. Very powerful, very significant. Hey, if you're watching from another church, and I hope you had an incredible weekend too, if you're a part of a church that's not family church and tuning into us, I hope that your weekend was a weekend just filled with God as well. Brilliant. And just going to wait a couple more minutes to let people dive on in. Have you been watching Gina's Bible study? And this week she looked at the book of Ruth. And that was just, again, a brilliant overview of that book, Ruth, which is quite a small book, but it's got so much truth in it for us as believers as we seek to understand God's ways. Fantastic. Well, today we are going to do something a little bit different. Obviously, last week we finished our series on kingdom economy and kingdom economics. And I've got a whole bunch of other things in my heart that I want to speak about at Talking Church on Tuesdays. But today I thought it would be really good if we took a moment today to go back to an episode that we recorded 8 months ago. And in this episode, we looked at the subject of how can we be a multicultural church in a way that's honouring to the cultures that are represented in our multicultural church. It was a really good open discussion. I was joined by a dear brother in our church called Yenga, who represented Africa. He's from Congo, and also Janine, that represented the Philippines and Asia. And we took some time together to sit down and discuss how can we be more multicultural in how we do church. How can we learn to celebrate each other and the cultures that we represent in a better and a stronger way? And as I was just getting ready for today, I thought it would be really good if we took a moment just to rewind and, for some, rewatch, for others, watch this for the first time. This episode that we recorded, like I said, 8 months ago, where we put the subject on the table of being multicultural church and wanting to do it right, do it correct, do it in a way that everyone that calls church home feels significant, celebrated and honoured. So I am going to now flick over to that episode and invite you to join me as we watch this conversation together on being multicultural church. Hope you enjoy it. God bless. Today I want to look at church being a place of many cultures. Now, for us in Portsmouth, the Portsmouth congregation, we're a very international church. We have people from all over the world, people from Africa and Asia, the islands. I mean, I'm not talking about the Isle of Wight. I'm talking about, places like St. Vincent. We got people from all over the world, and I'm always so blessed when people come on Sunday morning, and even students, but non-students come and they say, we're from this country. And what they mean by that is, this is the culture that was our culture growing up in our formative years, including church. And now we're here in the United Kingdom, we're in Britain, and we love God, we're sold out for the kingdom. But now we're in a more British church. And I think, yeah, that's good, but sometimes I think it's sad when people are not true to some of the things that are true to their culture nationally, because they maybe think that they're in a country, a different country, and they need to be true to the culture of that country. And I want to dig into that a little bit today. I'm blessed today to have two guests. It's like a bit of a kind of world debate today. We've got the whole of Asia represented by Janine. She's representing the whole of Asia today, specifically the Philippines today. because Janine's originally from the Philippines, moved over here. How old were you when you moved over?
I was 19. So
You were
I was born
19?
and raised in the Philippines.
So you had a lot of experience of the culture of Philippines, not just national culture, but church culture in the Philippines, right up to the age of 19.
Yeah. I grew up in the Philippines in the church as well. So
Great, fantastic. Well, we're going to be digging into that in a minute. And we've got Yenga, who's representing the whole continent of Africa. With all its different nations, you know, he's representing. You're actually from Congo, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm
and
from Congo.
You're married to a Kenyan.
Yes.
So you're going to represent, because now that you're married to a Kenyan, you know Kenya off by heart. Learning the language, so you can understand what your wife is saying to you when she speaks in her native tongue.
Some of it.
Yeah, okay, that's great. And so we're representing, and obviously I'm from Great Britain, if you didn't know. I'm from England. We represent three different countries and three different cultures that many of them are the same. It's like how we sing praise and worship can be different.
Right.
But what we're singing in our praise and worship is the same.
Yeah.
We were talking just now about the different songs that are used in Congo. But when you translate the song or change the rhythm, it's still songs that are saying, Jesus Christ is Lord, God saves you. The words remain the same, but sometimes the delivery of the song can be different. Now, when I look at Family Church, we never really set out to have a British church. We always wanted to be a big old fat soup made up of many ingredients of the nations, because I think it's a little bit narrow-minded to say, well, this is how church needs to be, based on a national culture.
Right.
What we need to look at is make kingdom culture number one.
Yeah.
But then also not be scared to look at different ways church is done in other nations.
Yeah.
And different values that Christians put on certain things in different nations. And I put here, not to be scared to celebrate those things.
Yeah.
More than, you know, every year we try to do an international type Sunday where we focus on missions and the international of who we are. What's sad sometimes is it's like when we finish that service on that Sunday, we've had a Sunday where we've worshipped in a more African way, or we've experienced some of the beautiful dancing that's a part of Filipino worship. Now, I've been blessed to be able to go to Africa, different parts of Africa and the Philippines regularly, and I've sat there and thought, you guys do that beautifully, specifically with praise and worship. Why don't we do that in England? You know, and there's reasons why. It's like if you see the tambourine players in the Philippines.
We love it.
Amazing. I mean, when they start to worship God, out come all these young ladies dressed in beautiful, and they're doing it like all the tambourine.
With the
like
ribbon and the tambourine.
and I've had people with me and they said, Pastor Andy, why can't we do that in England? I said, because English people are terrible with tambourines. I mean, coordination, give them an ice cream, like put it in their head. They just can't, you know, and I'm like, no. So we ban tambourine playing in a lot of our, but when I see it in the Philippines, I'm like an avid tambourine supporter, you know, and, you know, again, we're looking at praise and worship. Some things are different. We're going to look at some stuff beyond praise and worship. But again, with Africa, I've always been like, you know, if you go to a service in Africa, and they start, I know this is true in every country of Africa, when they start to praise God, they don't sit there quietly. They don't sit there. It's like when they start to praise God in Africa, the whole room begins to pulsate, the whole room begins to move, and the ladies begin to make these wild noises of praise, and they're shimmying out of the eye, and suddenly you're looking, you're like, this is wild, and sometimes I look out on Sunday morning and I'm like, why are you sitting there? You know, you're from Kenya, is it something we're doing?
Right.
Because if it is, I want us to stop doing that. Is it something that's a conditioning? And I had a massive breakthrough on Sunday. I spoke to a young, he's not young now, it's Nacho, if he's watching. He's older now. He was young when he first started coming. Yeah. Old boy now, old boy. And I said to Nacho about this, and he said to me, well, Pastor Andy, it's not so much about them feeling suppressed. the beat's different.
Sure. Yeah.
And I went, brilliant answer. They said, we can't, what he was basically saying, translated by Andy, is we can't hit our praise groove with the Western style of praise and worship. And I sat there, I went, that really helped me, because I hated the thought that people that were originally from Africa in our congregations didn't feel that they would be celebrated or embraced for praising or worshipping like they did in the country they were born in. So that really helped me. All right, let's dig into this a little bit. Janine, let's start with Asia. Remember, you're representing the whole of Asia today, so be careful what you say. No, we're zooming in on the Philippines. Growing up, age of 19, you came to England and you became a part of a Western church, as it would be termed. What's some of the things that straight away became different? And again, don't be afraid to go, I missed this.
Sure.
That's what we want. We want honesty. We want to know what we're dealing with here. Some of the stuff that you went, you know what, I love what's going on here in the Western church, but I kind of miss this aspect that I grew up in.
So I was born and raised in the Philippines. I grew up in the church as well. So that's all I've ever known. I've been a Christian a long time. When I moved to England, Family Church, the first church that I went to, I loved it straight away. I felt at home. It really did feel like family. I think the first thing that I thought, I missed that, is Connect Group, actually, because I grew up from when I was 13. I was in, we called it discipleship group. So we would meet every week. So
actually jumping in, just for those watching, life group, connect group, home group, that aspect of smaller community of church.
That's a small group. So I grew up being in that, which helped me a lot when I was growing up, especially because I didn't live with my parents. So it was good to have people that I was accountable to. I had a mentor there as well. So actually when I was here in Family Church, I asked someone to be my mentor, because I was used to it, or I loved it, and I loved it. Another thing was I loved how we do life together. I think that's like the social, like how we fellowship. In Filipinos, we love socializing, hanging out with each other. I feel like when your church friends almost become your church family, which is what we are actually. You see that a lot in Family Church, but I think
it's less meeting driven, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't. It's almost like we don't do. Oh, okay, we've got a social at mine today. Social at mine today. It's not like that. It's like yeah, everyone's coming around. Yeah, come around whenever you want to. So it's just so natural. I think it's not. I don't want to say manufactured, because we don't manufacture at Family Church, and we do fellowship really well too. But I think it's just part of who we are.
The English person generally is quite funny. Now this is generalism. It's almost like my home is my castle when I shut my gate. You know, it's very invite. You have to be invited, don't you?
Yeah.
Now I can remember when we just had an incredible wave of Filipinos come in the church quite early on. We're talking 16, 17 years ago.
Right.
And they were coming over. England were bringing them in to work in the hospitals because we had a shortage of nurses and doctors and that kind of stuff. And I can remember thinking, I need to hang out with these guys. But to me, hang out was, right, I'm going to invite you around for pizza, right? We're going to spend about an hour and a half together. We're going to eat pizza, and then we're going to say goodbye and get on. But I remember when the guys came over, they were planning on staying all day.
Right.
And then I suddenly realised that the problem was with me, my concept was of fellowship was English, in that, you know, when an English person speaks of fellowship and church, it's like, all right, I'll stay behind for 26 minutes after the meeting and have a cup of tea with you. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done, you know.
Yeah.
Where the Bible speaks of fellowship, a shared life. And I think the Filipinos and the Asians and the Africans, I've seen this, when they talk about fellowship, it's like when an English person goes to an English life group, it's normally there's a clock on in everybody's head, and it's like, we're going to be here for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. And when you visit like a Filipino life group, you turn up like 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and about 4 o'clock on Thursday, it's still going. A whole new lot of people have arrived with food, but they, and it just, and I love that. I love that. But again, in the Western mindset, often churches, we do church, it's meet and driven. It's kind of, we do this, we do that, then we're done and we get on. Segregated life, where I really noticed that, and that must have been so big to you that it was almost, where are you all going?
Yeah.
because of fellowship. Is that the same in Africa?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. Because in Africa, especially when we go to church, we know that we go worship and honor God because it's, first of all, it's bigger than our parent. Because we grow up with parents at home and you go to church, you know that you go to worship the Creator. So you don't play games. So it's like when I start worship singing, I don't need to sit down. I need to stand up and I need to clap. Use everything that God gave me because I'm alive, first of all. So you don't play a game. You need to honor and worship.
So for you to see people in worship, and again I'm speaking of crossing over from one culture to another naturally, not kingdom culture, which I think kingdom culture is the trees of the field clap their hands. Yeah. You don't sit and watch, No. In full agreement. But for you to see people in a praise and worship service when the Lord is being praised and people are giving worship, to be kind of sitting there on their phone, does that grind you?
Yeah, sometimes, because I say you don't know what you are doing, because if you know that God is the one who gave you that life, you shouldn't sit down.
That's good.
Right. Maybe because you are blind spiritually, but if your eyes is open, you need to stand up and honor the God, the Creator.
That's so good, eh? Yeah. That's so good, because I think we can be, not me, I'm talking about other people, can be very flippant or take it or leave it. And it's almost like they're not respecting the presence of God.
Of course.
That's there. I like that. Just skipping back to Asia quickly, we're just starting around the world. Anything else apart from fellowship? Or do you want to say more about fellowship, the absence of fellowship?
Yeah, I think, okay, this is something that I often speak to Smudge about this, Smudge is my husband. I often wonder, I've been in family church 10 years now, 9 years, and I always wonder, God, where are your people? Why don't they want to help? Filipinos, we just get involved. I remember when I started going to youth church, one of the first things that I got asked by the people one of the girls that I met, she was like, what team are you in? What team are you in? And then I was like, oh, I don't know about teams. This is my first week. And then I joined the team that week. Because it was a thing, you didn't go, are you in a team? You go, which team are you in? Because everyone was in it.
So are you saying that serving is more natural in that culture?
Serving and getting involved. And I think, I don't know, without going too much about our history, I wonder if it's because of our, we just had to help somehow. We had each other's back kind of thing. So I think that's kind of embedded now in who we are as a nation, that if something needs done, let's just all get in there and help. And I think that's something that I've missed in family church, where everyone's just, I think it's almost like, which teams are you in? I remember joining too many teams. I was like, right, I'm going to join the hosting team, the choir. I was in 2 choirs, and then join the kids team, the hosting team.
Do you think the two are connected? Again, we've been speaking a lot the last few weeks about the church in Acts 2, that they devoted themselves to apostolic teaching, to breaking the bread of prayer, and to fellowship, shared life.
Yeah.
If you've got more of a culture of eating together and hanging out together, then it's almost a natural byproduct that you're going to want to do things together, right?
Yeah.
So they're not separate things. I think it's a part of the same culture.
Yeah.
And again, if you're watching this and you're from England, don't get all shirty. We're British. Let's learn.
Yeah.
Let's learn. That's what we've got to do today. We've got to look at kingdom culture and say, we're small-minded if we think, well, the British church does it this way and this is how it should always be done. Because a lot of the time, the traditions of the British church don't go back far enough. We need things as they originally were, but people are speaking about Victorian England, Edwardian England. Well, let's go back to the very birth of the church, which was which came out of Judaism with a bunch of Jewish people. And if you ever see Jewish people praising God, it's not a quiet affair. It's really not.
Yeah.
All right, let's skip over, take a plane back to Africa, zoom in on the Congo. Other things that you notice differences from being a part of a Western culture church with a kingdom culture to an African culture church?
In Congo especially, where I was the place of my birth, and when we go to church, we talk about God, we take it seriously, because you can't, it's like you need to understand the person you are facing, first of all, because For example, my daddy can say to me, Yenga, you need to go to church. I know he mean it. He's not playing games because he know that you go to church, you can learn something that the one is sending you to do. Like, you know that he send you to church that you can learn that the way you can behave, the way you can live in the society that you are. So you need to understand you can understand the culture, but when they say to you, go to church, he wants you to go to see yourself and get something from different person, because it's not him who's gonna teach, who's gonna preach. It's different person, and when you come back home, he's gonna ask you a question, and you will see by that if you're really learning from the church that you are going. If you are not learning from there, he's gonna say to you, you're not doing good enough, because you wanna see change in you. Because
what I'm hearing very much, Yenga, is another point that I actually want to drift into. I've experienced this in Asia and other countries, but a lot in Africa, when I was ministering in Africa a lot, was the whole thing of respect and honour.
of course,
Respect and honour. For not any individual thing, respect and honour for the word.
Yeah.
But when you teach the word, I mean, again, sometimes people are late getting to the meetings in Africa, but they're going to stay all day.
Of course.
And I've been in Africa where I've been like, all right, we've started the meeting and you've taught for 45 minutes. You're like, amen, and they go nowhere.
Yeah.
They're there and they're like, and another one, and another one. They just want the word of God.
Yeah.
And I love that hunger, I do. But also, again, bit of a thin ice subject, the honour of not just the word and of God, but of the man or the woman of God.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What I always see is sometimes the people coming from Africa countries and also Asian countries come in, and the honour they have naturally that's been grown into them in their formative years regarding a pastor, your natural parents, whether they've been good or bad, there's an honour there that's biblical. But the honour towards the pastor, the man or woman of God. Now, I know this is thin ice because some men of God have used that wrongly and used the office of the apostle or the pastor for stuff it shouldn't have been used for if Christ is our model. But equally, I've always felt a great level of respect and honour from people from Africa and Asia in comparison, not to all, because a load of the British people are honourable, but sometimes it's just more of a trait. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Of sometimes I've been walking down a corridor and to do something, and someone's found out I'm going to do it. I remember the classic example was we were having trouble getting people to work on the car park team in Portsmouth Family Church. We just could not get people to sign up for the car park team. And so one day I turned to Wayne, who's one of the elders in Family Church. I went, all right, I'm done with this. Give me the car park team jacket, the luminous orange jacket. I'm going in that car park. And I wanted to do it because it needed to be done, but also I wanted to show people coming in, we haven't got enough team. Yeah. People are burning out because there's not enough on team. So I went out into the car park. I was preaching that morning, but I had this luminous jacket on because the guy that had been out there needed time off and no one was stepping up. When I did that, it was such a visual lesson of responses from people. And oh my goodness, some of the Africans, it's like I'd spat on their shoe.
Yeah.
It's like I'd kind of nudged them and spilt their coffee and not said sorry. People were coming into the car park, and it was amazing to see some of the responses. And I can remember one of our guys from Africa, who was from Nigeria. I thought he was going to hit me. He came up to me, he was like, no, and he started pulling the jacket off of me. And I was like, whoa, I'm good. I don't care what I do in church as long as I do something. He said, my pastor will not wear... And I've never seen it. He's a gentle guy, not this time. And he took the jacket off of me, put it on himself. But I was getting a lot of responses like that from people originally from Africa. And yeah, no, there were some people from England that were going, that's kind of not right you're doing that, Pastor. But I had other people driving past laughing, saying, you found your place at last. And I know it was a joke and it was sarcastic, but there was more truth in the statement than what they were letting out. That's what they wanted to say.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And in that car park, I was collided with different cultures. Which one is truer to a kingdom culture? The Bible speaks of honour and certain things, doesn't it? Open it up a little bit for Shenga.
Yeah, because as a pastor, for you to see you go to the car park, do the thing, we are not going to tolerate that in Africa because we know that you are men of God. Your job is like to seek God's face. We need to give you time. You need to go there to seek God's face so that you can bring the revelation that God gives you to us.
Yeah.
So for you to see you going to the car park, we are not going to tolerate that.
That's good.
Like me also, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I will say, no, this is not your place.
It was an aggressive annoyance.
Yeah, it's right. It's the way we are. So that was not your place. Your place is just give us the revelation that because you are a man of God. We know you are a pastor, so we're gonna wait from you.
Okay, so someone's watching this and maybe they're from Europe or from England, they're going, that's the guy needs to pitch in, like everyone needs to pitch in. Who does the pastor think he is?
No, you need to grow up. You need to do
I'll say that again, not like that.
You need to grow up.
There you go.
Yeah, you need to grow up. So to see the pastor go to the car park and letting people come in, no, that's not good.
Because a pastor will never share on this stuff. But Ephesians says that the offices, the pastor, the teacher, are gifts to the church. That's what it says in Ephesians. And I always think that God watches how we treat gifts.
Yeah.
And how we treat gifts. I know as a parent, how my kids treat a gift I give them will determine what gifts they get next. And that seems to be really a part of what you guys do. An honour for the word, an honour for a meeting, honour for men and women of God. Is that kingdom culture? I mean, looking at the live audience, is that an African culture, or do you think that's more kingdom culture?
It's kingdom.
Kingdom culture.
Kingdom, definitely.
Janine, what's things like in Philippines when it regards the man or the woman of God?
Yeah,
You know?
I wouldn't personally in the Philippines. It's not unheard of for the pastor to do something like pick up the rubbish, but you want to like Yango was saying, it's just all about releasing them to do something that they've been called to. Because I for example, on that Sunday morning that you were doing the car park, I imagine God is using you as the vessel to carry that message that He's given to us, not me. So why don't I welcome the people, and you do, and I release you to do what God's called you to do. So 100% to me that is kingdom culture, and I think we see that in family church, but obviously in countries like in the Philippines and in Congo, we really do esteem the pastors. Not too high that they're like in a higher pedestal than normal human beings, but that we just really recognize what is on them, the anointing that is on their calling.
Stop there. You're honouring what God's put on them.
Yeah.
I mean, and in doing that, because some people would look at it and say, well, give honour where honour's due. The Bible teaches that. But some would be, they're just like us. But what you're saying is the honour that you're giving is for the person, because there's respect in that.
Yeah.
But it's for what God's put on the
Right.
person?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Open that up more.
So, yeah, I think it's just recognizing that it's not that I'm different from you in that you're Andy Elms and I'm just Janine Smith, but God has put a calling on you that is, like, I want to say it's actually heavier or more, because I don't want to do what you have to do, because it's a bigger responsibility. So to me, just using that picture again of welcoming the people in, it sounds like, to other people maybe who don't understand kingdom culture or who don't come from cultures like Congo and the Philippines, it might sound like, oh well, he just doesn't want to do the small things. To me, or to people who understand kingdom culture, I'm like, no, I'll do that, because that's less responsibility than what he's got. He's got to really hear from God and deliver that message clearly. And so I think it's just understanding what is, like he was saying, if you have that thinking where, oh yeah, he's just the same as us, he should be welcoming people. He's right, grow up, because he's the same as us, but he has got a calling that is not the same as what we have. So release him to do what God's
Because
put
I
on
can
him.
remember I was doing a lot in Africa back in the late 90s and stuff like that. Whenever I went to a meeting, just to give context to those who haven't travelled, whenever I went to a meeting, people nearly fought over who would carry my Bible into the meeting. I'm serious. And to me, I mean, I was a fruit and veg salesman from Cosham. I was like, no, I can carry my own Bible. I'm good, you know? I'm good. But it wasn't a case of, it was an honour.
Yeah.
It was an honour to carry my Bible as the guy preaching there. And it wasn't like something somebody had been sentenced to do. It was something that and the honour in it, it was quite moving.
Yeah.
That everything in me from a Western mindset was, no, I'm good. But it was like, and the pastor would say, no, you need to let them do that.
Right.
That's rewarding to them. They're serving God as they're doing. Again, you drop that way of thinking into a more British or a Western culture, it can be kind of flicked out like a magnet with opposing ends, can't it?
Sure.
All right, other things. They can be little things that you notice when you're in family church sometimes in England, because we've got family church in the Philippines, and it's different when you go in there, yet it's the same, the heartbeat's the same. But little things, I want you to be honest, I wish we could do this. You sit in family church, loving the meeting, loving the preaching, but something in you says, I wish we could do this. We used to do this back home. Anything?
Yeah, I like a choir, and the music is a bit different because myself, I play drums, so I used to play drums so back home, and sometimes, yeah, I can dance, but I still need more.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when we go to church, we know that, yeah, it's Sunday, yeah, we cannot dance. And before we receive from the man of God, the preacher, the message, we need to dance for God and worship. So that means in Congo, when we dance, Pastor.
Yeah, no, I've been
We don't play games.
Hours.
When we dance, we dance. And the lady, they can, we
in
dance.
the church, leave the building,
Yeah,
round
we
the
dance.
building. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
we dance.
Yeah. So,
We sing, we
is
dance,
it
yeah.
the beat of our worship and our praise that prevents that? Or do you think that some people from Africa in our congregation feel that we wouldn't celebrate that?
No, we can celebrate, but maybe we need a bit more sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have we can open up African worship team or choir. I even asked Pastor Stu one day. I said we want to sing, and yeah, we're gonna sing in our.
Stu, he asked you. The man asked you, Stuart. You know, Stuart's like. But whenever we've done a choir in family church, you're in it, aren't you? You love it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. And yeah, my wife is still telling me you're gonna sing on your own, but I say, yeah, I don't mind.
Well, we're going to leave time at the end for you to give us some specials today. The people are phoning in and texting in now. We want Yenga, we want Yenga. There's a chanting that's starting in the background. So we'll see how we go with that. I like that, though. Thank you for that honesty. And again, these are conversations that would be good to have. How can we, and to me, family church isn't English or African or Filipino. It's a big old soup. You know, if you make a bowl of soup and just stick chicken and some ketchup in there, it could have some nutritional value. But it's when you start adding the herbs. It's when you start adding a bit of this, a bit of that, a little bit of this. What if we could open up our minds a little bit more? Now, I know that some of our congregations in family church really haven't got much of a population of people from other nations, but I'm speaking specifically to those that do, maybe other churches that are watching, and you look out. For us in Portsmouth, I think we'd be about, let me look at Stuart, always gives me correct facts, about 50% international. Stuart's nodding.
Wow.
We're about 50% or more international,
That's amazing.
which means we've got to be courageous enough
Right.
to look at the demographic of what we are as a church and go, let's make sure the best we can everyone's having the best experience this morning. I know we've got one of our pastors, Charlie, is originally from Korea, and you'd probably have a whole nother set of things that were in your formative years really drilled into you in a good way, respect and honour and certain things, and you're probably nodding with a lot of the comments here, right? Cool. Other little things that you think, oh, I wish Family Church would do this sometimes. Come on, spill the secrets.
We already do it. We have connect groups, but I think that Filipino in me, or I grew up in the church doing this. It's just that, like, come on, small groups is so good. I feel like here you have to convince people why they have to do small group or why it's good. Whereas in the Philippines, we knew it was good. And again, I don't know if that's to do with just that we are so family oriented, so we understand what it's like when you belong in a group and you have that accountability. But I think that's definitely something that over the years I've seen or I've noticed in me, like, come on, I just want people to get why small group is so good. And then out of that is that you naturally want to do life together. Oh, I do setup. Do you want to come set up with me? It just, like exactly what you said, it just kind of flows out of it naturally. It doesn't then feel like, oh, I can't because I've done the social last night and then we were connected with the night and I don't really want to do setup. It's just all.
I mean, big shout out to your mum, Natalie, if she's watching.
Yeah.
She's such a bringer.
Yeah.
Such a bringer. You turn around and the other Sunday she brought 8 nurses from and got. Love that. But again,
from work.
she's doing life with them,
Yeah.
and she's saying, now come with me where I'm going. And again, that's true to being African culture. It's,
yes.
I suppose what we're looking at, are we saying that sometimes British church loves to organise things to the point that they shouldn't be organised that much?
Right.
Because sometimes in organising things, I think sometimes we can take the natural life out of things that make things natural.
Yeah.
All right, let's spin this around, go a completely different angle on this. What's something that you loved about British or Western church when you came, Janine, that would be different? We looked at some of the stuff you maybe have missed.
Sure.
Or thought, well, this is different. Was there anything about the way that we do church in Portsmouth that you said, I love the way they do that?
I love, and this is going to be funny because obviously Yenga's just said, come on, we need to dance. I love how jumpy Family Church is.
Jumpy.
Yeah, jumpy, bouncy. So in the Philippines where I grew up in, there's lots of different churches in the Philippines, obviously, and there's lots of just different, ways to express.
They're not jumpy, are they?
Expressions. No, the church that I went to, you just didn't really jump. So coming to Family Church, my first Sunday here, people were jumping. I was just blown away. I was like, this is okay. And I loved it. That's straight away. I was like, this is how it should be. We should move and dance. That's exactly what he was saying.
That's so funny. Didn't we have an interview once with a paper? Paper report, and they said, I think they said they were very jumpy.
Yeah,
very jumpy. Bouncy, very bouncy church.
I love that about Tithing. I think that's definitely something that even now when I visit back in the Philippines, it's become natural because it's obviously the culture that we have at church that you're just so involved and you get lost. There's no inhibition, I guess. Yeah. But also on the flip side, it may be that Filipinos are just so formal and we like our formalities. And
again, that's a cultural.
It's just culture. Yeah, it's not really wrong or right. But
let's look at a big chunk of England. You can't get more formal than some streams of English church.
You won't read off a book.
Any more formal, you're dead.
Yeah.
All right. Any less movement, you're calling the ambulance service. Are they still with us? So, some of that formality. Again, your experience of church would have been mainly family church.
Yeah.
Where, again, even within England, the expressions and the cultures of what church is can be very vastly different. But again, African churches are bouncy. Yeah. They're shimmery. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're groove. You know what I mean? Some of the moves.
Of course.
Some of the moves.
It depends on the beat.
Yeah. So you just get into that God beat.
Yeah.
I used to love when I was doing crusades in Zambia. And again, when you went into praise and worship, it wasn't too fast songs, too slow songs. You may get up to preach about 11. But you didn't want to, because I'd sit there and watch the ladies just coming out. And again, was it just dancing? No, it was their worship.
Yeah.
It was their way of expressing, God, we're going to praise you with our bodies. We're going to praise
Yeah.
you. And I mean, babies strapped to the back, nothing, awesome. And again, I think one of my frustrations is, and I think we can time some of this down to the beat and the groove. And we're going to make you the groove master from now on, Yenga. You're going to be the groove master. We christen you groove master. You know, because we used to do an international Sunday, and it was glorious. Everybody wore what would be their national costume or something associated to national, colourful.
Yeah.
And then we'd bring in, and often we'd have an African band, and the Filipinos would do a dance, and and it was glorious. And you'd sit there going, yeah, this is bigger than just British church. And then you think, we're done. We're never the same. Next week, it's just back to that kind of setting that is very complementary to English people, or not complementary, normal to English people. But I suppose my heart in this whole conversation is I don't want anyone that's in family church from another nationality to feel stifled.
Right.
And that answering about the beat really helps me, because my alternative was, are they not dancing because they don't think we'd approve?
Right.
Are they not dancing because they think we wouldn't? That's not enough. We've got to allow kingdom culture to invade, but also celebrate the flavours. Not say, welcome to British church, now act British. That's not right. That's not right. And I think this is a journey we'll always be on until we see God face to face.
Yeah.
Okay, time's nearly gone. Something you like about British church, Yenga, that when you came in you thought, like that?
Yeah, but in family church, I was happy because people can dance, especially youth. They don't mind.
And Stuart?
Yeah. Yeah. Both pastor, they can dance.
Yeah,
of course.
I don't think many people overtake me and the pastor Stu
because
on Sunday.
Because we say always in Congo, before we start singing, we say, where are you dancing? Are you dancing in a pub or a nightclub?
Yeah.
So here is about kingdom. So if you dance outside,
Oh, come on, preach
so
that,
you
Yenga.
need
Preach
to dance
good.
here.
that. Come on,
good.
more Yenga. That's true.
Yeah, so if you dance outside,
Yeah.
that means you dance for the world. So if you don't dance for the Creator, you are missing out.
Oh,
That's
come
so
on.
good.
I love it, because we have church weddings, and you see them, don't you? On the dance floor, 10 o'clock at night. No drink or anything like that. They're just out there, young and keen, only 17. And you're like, wow, you're a very animated person, aren't you? But then Sunday morning. And you're like, so you dance for ABBA, not ABBA. Oh, there's a message in that. There's a message in that. You'll dance for the European ABBA, but not ABBA God.
Oh my God, the Creator. You need to dance.
When I think the mindset within other nations, there can be more of a strength of God first.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That if I'll dance for someone apart from God, I will dance for. If I'll give. And again, let's just skip onto this quickly. Tithes and offerings. I never really have painful discussions with people from Africa about tithing and giving, because it's really put in them by their parents and their spiritual leaders at a formative age. By the time you guys leave kids' church, it's a done deal, right?
Yeah, because you go 100% to give 10%. What is that? 90% you can manage. It's not rocket science. You got 90%, they give it to you. Just to give 10% of what you got, you are trying to beg. No.
But yet a Western person watching this today will go, oh, no, 10%'s a lot. I can't afford 10%.
But Pastor, you can manage 90%. They give you 90. They just ask for 10%. It's bigger.
See, that's the strong persuasion.
Yeah.
Where there would be someone, if we brought somebody up that struggled with tithing, they'd be going, no, I just can't afford it. Where the problem is they haven't budgeted to include God.
Right.
And there is a promise. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. There's a promise that they say, try me. God said, try me.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. He said, you take 90, you just give me 10 and try me.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to have the Groove Master Yenga back on the show. I mean, come on, please. But again, I've been in Africa and Asia, Sometimes it's not money. I've been in offerings where chickens,
Yeah.
Wow.
all manner of stuff, because the Bible says bring the first fruits.
Yeah.
And I've been in meetings when people are coming in with chicken. I've been in the Philippines where someone gave me a chicken.
Oh, wow.
And the chicken travelled in the jeepney with me.
Oh,
And
alive?
I was sleeping in the jeepney.
Live chicken?
Yeah. And I said, let's just kill it and make something. And the lady, she said, no, we've got to take it. I was sleeping in the jeepney, and every morning that thing would at my ankles, and I'm like, I'm going to crush your head in a minute. Sorry for anyone that loves animals. I didn't mean that. That slipped out. But yeah, in the offerings, it's not just let me bring my money. I've been in meetings where people bring harvest and stuff where they say, God's blessed me with this.
Right.
The first 10 belongs to him.
Yeah.
That's a big in the Philippines too, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, because especially in the provinces, you don't have money, but a lot of them are actually self-sufficient in that they'll have their own livestock, they'll have their own veg. So in a sense, that is their possession. So yeah, exactly what you said. It becomes literal to them, the first crops. That is then the offering. So
Mangoes.
the mango. When it's a mango.
Oh, that's a good day in church when
That's
the
a good
mangoes
offering. That's
come.
going beyond.
Yeah, that's a good day.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the money to them, because they don't need the money. They have the livestock. They've got the food in their back.
And they trade in Africa and Asia. A lot of the time they trade without money, which means the stuff that they're growing, the livestock, is a commodity within villages and stuff like that, where the pound or the dollar wouldn't really be. I mean, this is interesting, eh? A good conversation. We could, even within the Western culture, you could include different cultures. It's like if you speak to some Americans, how they do church and the values they put on things in church are different to what the Brits do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we look at stuff that Americans are doing and we're like, that is so cheesy to us. But to them, super value on it. We look at some stuff that Americans would do and we go, well, that's just religious. Where to them, it's, and again, I suppose it's reaching that point going, how's the heart? How's the heart here? Can we see ourselves as a kingdom of people outside of any national kingdom? Can we dare to say that the church is not British or African or Asian, but the church is a kingdom of people called out of darkness into light, with many expressions of natural culture that are beautiful, full of flavour, that if we dare to make church more of a casserole, more of a soup, we could actually all get more flavour
really good.
out of what church is. Hey, good conversation. Thank you, Janine, and thank you for Yenga. Yenga, we ran out of time. No time for the song this week. I know you're gutted. But we'll get you back. We'll do a special Yenga Sings, the Groove Master Sings.
He'll have his own portion.
And maybe a tambourine demonstration from Sister Janine.
I'll consider it.
And hey, watch Family Church. I think the next few weeks could get really interesting. Hope this has been of use. Hope this is triggering conversations in your own heart and in the congregations that you represent. I know some people watch this show as their connect group in other congregations. We love that. Keep on doing that. We'll see you next week for Talking Church.